Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Scott coming to you with another truth talk this morning. I just want to talk to you for a little while. We're entering into an awesome season. Amen. We're entering into the Christmas season, and for some people, that's some of their favorite times of year. My wife loves Easter and Christmas. I love Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I always love to try to teach this time of year out of the Christmas story, to glean some things that we may miss just because we're casually reading through maybe the Christmas story. But I want to start today off with, what do you do when you're asked to do the impossible? And that's kind of what Miss Mary here was done. Because when we look at Luke chapter 1, and it starts with verse 26, and it talks about how, Gabriel come to a city in Galilee by the name of Nazareth. And he came to talk to a young woman by the name of Mary, who was engaged to be married to a man named Joseph. And what he did is he come to bring her some news. He came and to her, and he said, "Rejoice, highly favored one, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women." And and it kind of, needless to say, just the fact that you see an angel is enough to kind of concern some people. And but then on top of it, she's kind of puzzled why he would even be coming to her with that kind of greeting. But he continues to tell her that she is going to conceive a child, and she would name that child Jesus. And so we sit and think, and poor old Mary must be, scared to death, must be trying to figure out what in the world is going on. He's telling me I'm going to be with child. First, me and Joseph, we're not even married yet. And secondly, I've never known a man. I'm still a virgin. How is this possible? And all of us that know, having a child and, in her condition is impossible. But through God, amen, there's the key. But God, all things are possible. And one of the things that I asked, especially, I asked this Sunday as well, is what made Mary so much more highly favored than any other person? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact of her faith in God Himself. That's why He chose her, is that He knew that she had faith in Him. He knew that she would, follow Him. And that's kind of what Mary ended up doing, is she got it in her mind that if God said it, that settles it, and I'm going to believe it. Now, granted, did that make things any easier? No, it didn't. Because then, she's thinking, well, what if somebody found out? I could lose everything. I could lose the man that I love. I mean, she still had to tell Joseph. And can you imagine that discussion? Joseph, I am a virgin and everything, but God says I'm going to have a child, and the father is God's. I mean, can you imagine that conversation? But she walked in faith, amen. Even though it didn't make sense to her, even though the situation seemed impossible, she still walked by faith. And she's seen things that are not as though they would be, and as they, are. And so Joseph, God loved him. I mean, he had to have such great faith in God, because he had that vision from God to say, look, what Mary's telling you is true. And so he walked by faith and not by sight as well. We can learn so much from these two as we read this story, that when we walk into impossible situations, when we can't see a way through, when we can't see a way out of whatever we're in the midst of, there is always a way with God. Man says it's impossible, but all things are possible through Christ. Amen. I love what Philippians 4:13 tells us, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Even if man says it's not possible, if God says it, it's possible. It's kind of like when he got onto the disciples. It's when he got onto the disciples, and when they were crossing the lake and stuff, and he says, we're going to go to the other side. But yet when the storm hit, they began to panic and wake them up and say, Rabbi, do you not care if we perish? And he said, you of little faith. Why did they have little faith? Because he said, we're going to the other side. And if God says we're going to the other side, that's what he meant, regardless what storm pops up, regardless how impossible it may look that we're going to get to the other side. If God says it, that's what's going to happen. And we need to grasp a hold of that today. As children of God, as Christ followers, that if God says it, that settles it, and I'm going to believe it. Amen. Even if it is an impossible situation. I read that part of the Christmas story, and it just done something to me. That if Mary can grasp a hold of what God said, even though the fact that no matter how she looked at it, no matter what angle she looked at it from, it was impossible. But God said it, and that settled it for her, and she believed it, and she walked it out in faith. Amen. I pray that this little truth talk has helped you with this today, and I pray that you will continue to tune in to us and glean what you can from our little videos. Pass it on to somebody, and we hope that you have a blessed day and a very Merry Christmas. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.